Hi, I'm Antonia. This is Universally Me. I'm so excited to be back filming after a 6-month hiatus. First, please follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Antonia Carlotta, and also support my work on Patreon, which I've linked at the end of this video and also below. I'm jumping back in with an important topic that meant a lot to my Uncle Carl. You may have learned about it in your history classes, and it inspired a 1976 Academy Award nominated film. In past videos, I've talked about my Uncle Carl's efforts to save Jews from Europe during World War II. He would sign affidavits for them, sponsoring them and setting them up with homes and jobs, and really making sure that they could start a new life for themselves here in the United States. In May of 1939, a ship set sail from Germany with almost 1,000 refugees on it, and thus begins the Voyage of the Damned, one of my uncle's last great efforts. Today's video is about the SS St. Louis. Though the MS St. Louis is technically its proper name, in almost every book and paper I've read, even going back to the time of the incident, I've seen it referred to as the SS St. Louis. The SS St. Louis was a German ocean liner that set sail from Germany to Cuba on May 13th of 1939. It had on board 937 passengers, almost all of whom were Jewish refugees seeking asylum from Nazi Germany. By this time, in 1939, Kristallnacht had occurred, Jewish businesses had been shut down, synagogues had been burned to the ground, and it was clear that things were not going to get better for them. Even before the ship left, there started to be signs that maybe the refugees wouldn't be welcomed. The plan was that they would dock in Cuba, where they all had landing certificates, and then they would wait there while their US visas were approved. But just days earlier, the president of Cuba, Federico Laredo Bru, signed a decree that invalidated all of the landing certificates. There were rumors that the refugees were really communists and criminals. And days later, on May 8th, there was a large anti-Semitic protest in Havana. I read on the US Holocaust Memorial website that it's really possible that the Jewish refugees didn't know that all of this was going on. And that was on purpose on the part of Germany because they wanted to simultaneously get rid of as many Jews as possible while also exploiting other countries' unwillingness to take them. Though the captain of the ship, Gustav Schroeder, was not Jewish, he made sure that all the Jewish passengers were treated with respect on the ship. It was basically a luxury cruise. They had delicious dinners, way better than the ration food back in Germany. They had daycare for the kids and swimming pool, a live band, a cinema. They were allowed to do their Friday Shabbat services, and according to a BBC article I read, there was a portrait of Hitler that was even taken down off the wall during the prayers out of respect. It was a really optimistic time for everyone because they were on this beautiful ship and they were headed toward freedom. On May 27th, the SS St. Louis arrived in Cuba, but were quickly told that nobody would be let off the ship. In addition to what I mentioned earlier, there was a fear that too many immigrants would be an economic burden to Cuba. All but 29 visas had been revoked. The 29 who were allowed in included 2 Cuban nationals, 4 Spanish citizens, 22 with US visas, and 1 man who was so distraught that he attempted suicide and was taken to a hospital in Havana. The ship tried unsuccessfully to negotiate for a week before they finally turned and headed toward the coast of Florida, hoping that maybe the US would let them in. The US, though, in 1924 had signed the Johnson-Reed Act, which instated immigrant quotas, essentially so we could maximize the number of immigrants from desirable countries and minimize all the rest. And the Great Depression, too, had had an impact on anti-immigrant and anti-Jewish sentiment. Though the US was sympathetic toward the plight of the refugees, they still decided to stand by their immigration restrictions. And Franklin Roosevelt could have signed an executive order to allow the St. Louis to dock, but he didn't want to do something too controversial while he was considering running for another term for president. Carl Laemmle sent letters throughout the 1930s to Secretary of State Cordell Hull, pleading on behalf of the Jewish people and urging him to let more Jewish refugees in. He fought extra hard on behalf of those stuck on the SS St. Louis and wrote directly to President Roosevelt, saying, "Your voice is the only one that has the necessary convincing power in a case like this, and I beseech you to use it in this great human extremity." He also wrote, "I appeal to you to use your influence with Batista or someone else to take in these wandering, worthy, and inoffensive people. And may God bless you forever as exponents of the Golden Rule." Roosevelt didn't respond. With their options exhausted and food running low, the SS St. Louis had no choice but to turn around and head back toward Europe a full month after its initial departure. The passengers who at one time felt so positive and so hopeful like they'd left Hitler's grasp forever now felt certain that they were headed back toward their death. And for many, that was the case. Captain Schroeder was adamant that none of the passengers returned to Germany. He worked with the Jewish Joint Distribution Committee and was able to negotiate 288 to the UK, 224 to France, 214 to Belgium, and 181 in the Netherlands. But some of those countries were later occupied, so many of the passengers still went to concentration camps, and 254 of them perished in the Holocaust. Even though this was an event that Carl Laemmle had just a small part of, I've heard for years how much it weighed on him that he wasn't able to do more for the passengers of the SS St. Louis. He felt this immense responsibility for every person that he wasn't able to save. This is definitely a heavier topic to talk about, but I think it's important to take a positive lesson from this. Even though in this instance Carl didn't succeed, he didn't use it as a reason to stop working and stop doing everything he could for refugees. And for us today, especially when there's so much turmoil in the world, I think it's really important that even when it feels like we take a loss, that we don't use it as a reason to stop working and stop fighting for what's right. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and please don't forget to subscribe, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Antonia Carlotta, and support my work on Patreon. Bye.